Okay, guys, we're back with the Mopar W2 Econo heads. It has a very similar chamber to the 360 LA head. It's a 20216, completely stock valves. It has a stock valve job. The only thing I did to the valve job was on the intake, I put a tiny bit of a 60 on it because in one spot they basically took the 60 completely out. So it was relatively wide, so I could thin the 45 a bit and give it a little bit of a 60. And that's one of the problems with going in and porting something somebody else has ported. The chance that that person does it the way you like it is extremely rare. To be honest, these guides are borderline right now 3/8 stem. I would like to talk Rob into putting in smaller diameter guides, put a little bit bigger intake and a little bit bigger exhaust in, and then cut them for 50s so we can give it, because the throat is bigger than I'd like. And I didn't actually remeasure the throat, but believe me, it could use some extra throat. Yeah, it sounds like I'm giving you a lot of excuses. Well, maybe I am. Let's see what we did. I did remember to give it a splash of Dicam. You can see it splashing out on the plug a little bit and through the chamber. That may not be fantastic. You can see the chamber work I did. Basically take a bunch of lumps and bumps and stuff off. Give it a little more radius. I didn't really deshroud it much because I don't have a head gasket here and I don't want to go too big, so kind of just shape it the way it is. All right, let's open it up and see what we got. Okay, not a huge difference from what we saw on the LA head as far as our liquid flow. I did try to clean that guide up the best I could. It was rough. I think the guy that originally ported this used a real small burr because there were lumps and bumps everywhere. So this is more of a cleanup than anything else. Okay. Interesting blue on our valve. You can see we're getting on a little bit of both sides of the guide. Not a huge amount, but a decent amount. It does look like it came out here and then moved over to here. It doesn't look like a lot of liquid came out this way, but you got a big sticky bunch of liquid right here. So that could probably use a little bit of work. And I'm sure with a decent valve job that would get better. I mean, let's see if we can focus a little better. My phone has not been doing a great job of focusing for you guys. Okay, you can see. I hope you can see the 45. You can see the uppercut a little bit, and I put a little bit of a 60 in, and I try to blend it so it's relatively the same all the way around. It really needs a bigger valve, and it really needs a steeper valve job in order to really give it some gain. But it's okay the way it is. Let's put a little light on this exhaust. All right, before we do that, we should take a better look at this intake. We didn't finish the intake. Basically, it was a cleanup, take the lumps and bumps off. You can still see there's a couple nicks here and there that are just left in. It's not even worth taking them all out. I don't know how far Rob wants to go on these, and it's a little ridiculous for me to go off the deep end. Especially if he wants to follow me up and do the rest of the ports. I have to make it something that, a person with less experience would be able to follow without too much trouble. This is one of the ports that weren't broken through. It is very thin. So I just gave it a little bit of a shape. You can see You can see the color there. I barely touched it up top because it's very thin. Okay, the short side did get some work. I did make it a little bit wider. I did take a little bit of the peak off because, as far as I'm concerned, it was a little too sharp. Was I right or was I wrong? Well, we can argue about that later. Overall, like I said when I first took a look at... we actually didn't. I don't think I looked at these heads with you guys yet. I think we only looked at the untouched W2s with had the closed chamber. Sorry, guys. It's sometimes difficult to keep the videos in order in my head. But I really like the stock short side. I did change the height of one of the sides a little bit according to the speeds. And I mean a little bit. Probably 30 thousandths maybe. And I wanted to see if it made a difference across the short side radius. We'll look at that in a sec. As far as the roof, one side did get raised quite a bit more than the other. For one, because it had gouges in it. And for two, the airspeed dictated that it needed a little more area there. So we worked on that, and we can look at the airspeeds and stuff in a second. Let's take a look at the exhaust port. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, the 1.6 exhaust port has got too big a throat in it. You can see on this top left side here that there is no 60. It goes right to the seat. You know, it's impossible to fix that unless you change the valve job and maybe put a little bit bigger valve in. I would like a 1.625. I think would take care of it all. And the way these are designed, you can put a decent sized valve in here. In any case, it was basically a cleanup on this port. Take some of the lumps and bumps and gouges out. Give it a little bit better shape around the guide a little bit. And according to the shape, I moved the roof a little bit. And according to the airspeeds on the short side, I did a little work to the short side. Okay, I'm having trouble with the lighting, so I'm going to have to one-hand the camera. Sorry, guys. The exhaust, I had to try to fix the shape the best I could. As far as I'm concerned, I really didn't... I don't know how much different this is than the stocker, to be honest, but it definitely is a little bigger. I tried to clean it up, and according to my airspeeds at the outlet, I tried to improve it. Let's turn this around and take another look at it. Okay, we're going to take a look at the short side, whatever we can see on this. This was the same thing. Because they basically opened it up almost to the 45, I literally just radiused it to the 45. You can see I nicked the valve job a little bit, but there's no question in my mind the valve job has to be done anyway, so I'm not sweating it. I don't know if you guys can see anything on that, but I did get a polish. Both short sides got a quickie polish with sanding rolls and just a 1-2 with a piece of emery. Okay, guys, here's our hit or miss flows. Now, this is a first cut. I know, I'm full of excuses today, right? Well, I am. Take a look at our pluses and minuses. Minus, plus, minus, minus, plus, plus, minus, 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 plus, plus, plus. Okay, 300, we went from 180 to 182. In fact, I lost a bunch of spots inside. And it seems like whenever I do the chambers and don't have the best valve job and I poured it, that seems to be the way it works. But I usually gain something up top. So at 500, we went from 179.6 to I actually lost a little bit, 277.2. Then 270.6 to 309.1. It went higher than that before it started to go off the edge of the short side radius. 275, 300, 273, 306, 272.3, 303. So we got a nice boost here. Now, how big a cam is he going to run? We don't know. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, a 400 plus inch Chrysler should have over 600 thousandths left. To me, that's not radical. Take a look at our swirl. Plus, minus, 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 plus, plus, plus. But it's not a huge step up. These were all zeros, right? It only got a little bit more swirl. Now, did I go off the deep end trying to give it swirl? I did not. Did I... Actually, the way the roof speeds were on this side, I would have expected it to have a lot more swirl. But, I mean, if you take a look at an unported one, let's get a little light on that. He used a very small burr, and he dug that straight down, so it's a very straight bowl. It would be nicer if it wasn't so. I mean, I like a deep bowl, but I think it could have been done a little bit better. I mean, let's take... I did what I could with this. Yeah, I put the little fin in. How did I do with the angle of the fin versus the angle of the Dicom? I think that looks pretty good. All right, it was a guess, but it looks pretty close. Let's finish up with our exhaust. Oh, you know what we didn't finish? We didn't finish our air speeds. Okay. Plus, 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 we're moving more air. Well, actually, at 0.6, we're actually moving less air. It was measured at 0.6, but we still have more air speed going through the pinch. So that's a little interesting, because I measured them both at 600 lift. Okay, 600 here is 309. All right, I'm sorry. I was thinking of 500. I got a loss here. Okay, see, I put a note 0.6 because I have to because I'm getting senile, you know. My air speeds on the roof are much more even because I did work to the roof to do that. It was semi-successful. Now the short side radius speeds was really fast in the middle, and it was relatively even across. Now so what I tried to do was lower that speed, but in making the short side more efficient, I really didn't. All of my speeds went up on the short side. But we are moving more air, so I'm going to take it as a win. Okay, let's take a quick look at our exhaust. You've got plus equals plus 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 plus. All right, I didn't goof up the exhaust nearly as bad. And let's see, how do we do as far as 300 on the exhaust? 148, 300, 149.7. Only a small amount of increase. At 500, we're 201.8, 214.2. Not bad. With a pipe, 217. With a pipe here, 231.4. That's more like what I think it should have. Now, I did use two pipes because it's a really big exhaust port, and it's going to be a decent-sized small block. So I used my 1.75-inch pipe, and I used a piece of 2-inch pipe that I have laying around just for such occasions. So the 2-inch pipe brought us to 240. 240.7 at 500. That's not bad. Okay? At 600, 226.4. 248 with a small pipe. I consider that my big pipe. Small pipe won't even cover that exhaust. And 261.5. How did that compare to this side over here? Okay, got it beat all the way around. But all the numbers we're going to look at, your new exhaust port beats them all. And that is with not a great throat ratio. Okay, so 700, we went 232, just the port. 1.75 pipe, 256.4, 271.2. That may be the highest flowing exhaust port I've had on this bench to date. I've had some big block stuff that didn't even come close to that. Then again, the old clutch is starting to slip, so. And at 800, which is more than we would probably lift it anyway, got 236, 261.4, and 275.9 with the big pipe. How did we do as far as the air speeds on the outside of the port? Overall, I'm going to take it as a win. All right, relatively even across the top, relatively even across the middle, and improved the center a little bit, not much. This corner actually went down a touch. This corner actually went down a touch. And I know why that happened, but I was just trying to make a more presentable shape. I think that exhaust port will improve tremendously even if we don't bring it to a 1.625. If we bring it to a 1.5 and a 50, and I can give it a little bit of a throat, 50 would like a little bit bigger throat ratio than what we got here. All right, guys. In any case, not bad for a street head. I'm pretty sure we put a tunnel ram on this and a 400 plus inch small block, it'll do okay. And the way I did it, I don't see any reason whatsoever that Rob wouldn't be able to copy these and make them damn close. And not really have to worry about thicknesses anywhere if he sticks to what it is, except the pinch, of course, which has already been ground through in several spots. But we can fix that up. They did some epoxy work on it, but I don't really like it. I think it's going to be coming out. All right, guys. In any case, a little Mopar love action. And thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys have a good night. Just the thought. If you guys give me the go, I'll put these up against those trick flow iron Fords that I have. I have a flow sheet on that somewhere. And my old bow ties. My old bow ties have porting in them from the 90s. But they still flowed pretty well. To me, it would be interesting to go, some measurements per measurements. If you guys want to see that, let me know. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.